Disaster for the Sacramento Kings, as likely NBA Sixth Man of the Year Malik Monk will be out for the next 4 to 6 weeks with a right knee injury. Is the Sacramento Kings season done for? And even worse than that, has Malik Monk potentially played his last game as a King? We'll discuss it on this emergency edition of the Locked On Kings podcast.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily Sacramento Kings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time for another episode of Locked On Kings.
Hello and welcome into Locked On Kings, your podcast hub for Sacramento Kings coverage all season long. My name is Matt George. I have the privilege of being your host here. I'm a Sacramento sports anchor and reporter from ABC 10 News. If you thought last night was bad, the Kings losing their second game in a row to the Dallas Mavericks at home, it didn't eliminate them from the playoffs outright, but certainly made that a lot harder, made this team more likely play inbound. We get the news today about Malik Monk. The official injury, which I'll get here so I make it perfectly clear and don't mess it up. It is a right MCL sprain, and he is expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks. That's according to ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski. I don't need to tell you, for those of you who watch Kings basketball and pay attention to Kings basketball, how important Malik is to the Sacramento Kings. Right? Not only is he the Energizer Bunny for this team, the lifeblood and captain of that second unit. Like I said, likely to win the Sixth Man of the Year, which, by the way, I know NBA has introduced like minimum qualifications to win awards. To qualify for MVP or things like that, you have to play minimum 65 games. One, Malik has passed that 65 game number, and two, the NBA Sixth Man of the Year award doesn't fall into those qualifications like the MVP award does. So Malik is not going to be eliminated from his likely achievement as the Sixth Man of the Year because he suffered this injury here at the end of the regular season. Just to make that perfectly clear, Malik is going to win Sixth Man of the Year, right? He has the absolute best case for it, even with him likely not playing another game this season. But on top of that, right, Malik is the third best player on this Kings team. We were hoping it would be Keegan Murray coming into this season. Keegan is still touted or looked at as the future third piece of a Sacramento Big Three, but Malik has been that guy. And at times, he's even been the second best player on a night where De'Aaron Fox has been struggling or Domantas Sabonis is struggling, or on nights when both of them have struggled. Malik has taken the load upon himself and led the Sacramento Kings to victories. He, with the energy he's brought, has helped rally the Kings when they were in a tough spot. He's also helped put games away that the starters were maybe struggling to put it away. Even though he wasn't starting, he was typically closing. He was on the floor, one of the 5 guys on the floor at the end of close games on a nightly basis. The importance of Malik Monk cannot be exaggerated to this Kings team. In the span of a handful of weeks, the Kings have lost Trey Lyles, they've lost Kevin Huerter to a season-ending injury, and now they've lost Malik Monk to technically not a season-ending injury. 4 to 6 weeks is the timeline for Malik's return. But to put it into proper context for you, 4 weeks from today, a month from today, is April 30th. On April 30th, 2023, that was the day that the Sacramento Kings were eliminated from the playoffs by the Golden State Warriors. That was Game 7 of the first round, meaning the first round went as long as it could possibly go. So essentially, bare minimum, the Sacramento Kings will have to make it out of the first round and advance to the second round at a minimum to get Malik Monk back this season. And even then, it could be that 6 week to where they have to make it late into the second round or even into the third round before Malik returns. It's not a pessimistic viewpoint, it's the reality. That's highly unlikely to happen without Malik. It's highly unlikely to happen without Malik and all the other injuries that the Sacramento Kings are dealing with. Now, important context also, Trey Lyles is expected to hopefully return in the next handful of games. Sasha Vezenkov is out again tomorrow against the Utah Jazz. De'Aaron Fox is also questionable, by the way. But Vezenkov is out, and when he returns, we don't know when that's going to be. We thought it was going to be soon. That was like a week and a half ago, and it's continued to be pushed back and pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. The Kings will get a couple of reinforcements with that second unit. But they lost their captain. They lost their leader. They lost the sixth man of the year in Malik Monk. So if you're watching this podcast and you're feeling, Matt, this season's done for, the Kings are cooked, I have a hard time arguing it. The Kings still very much have a chance, right? They're still in the mix. They're still in the play-in picture. It's very unlikely that the Kings fall out of the play-in picture outright. They would probably have to lose every single game from here on out in order for that to happen. I promise you, even without Malik and the injuries that the Kings are dealing with, that's not going to happen, right? The Kings will be a play-in team. There's still a decent chance that they can win 1 or 2 or however many games they need to win in the play-in to actually make it to the playoffs outright, even without Malik Monk. But that's essentially going to take every bit of the next man up mentality that you hear Coach Mike Brown and De'Aaron Fox and the other Kings players talk about. What they said after last night's game, what they said at practice today, right? Next man up, everybody has to stay ready. That's why you have a roster of 15 guys, so that when 1 or 2 or 3, or in the Kings' case, like 4 or 5 now, go down, that there are others there to step into that spot. Everybody is going to have to play close to their best basketball, starting with Fox and Sabonis, right? If the Kings want any chance of still playing, to still be playing and have Malik Monk return, Fox and Sabonis have to take their game to an even bigger level. We've seen Fox at the beginning of this season play with the ability to score 30 to damn near 40 points a night, right? We saw it to start this year. That's essentially what he is going to have to be from the play-in through the first round and into the second round of the playoffs in order for Malik Monk to come back. Plus, Domantas Sabonis being significantly better than he was in the playoffs last year, significantly better than he was against the Dallas Mavericks last night. We're talking as much of an offensive force as he is on the glass, and he is as a distributor, right? It's going to take a whole lot out of those two, and then it's going to take even more out of Keon. Keegan Murray and Harrison Barnes have to be pretty much perfect or excellent at their positions to make that happen. And then I don't know if Colby Jones is going to get opportunity or more Kessler Edwards or whoever it's going to be. The Kings have to be firing on all cylinders, almost like a Cinderella rally of a story for them to have any chance of getting Malik Monk back this season. That's a lot to ask, and I think way too much to expect, right? So what do we do? From the Kings fan perspective, what do we do for the rest of the season? We ride it out with them, right? At this point, expectations have kind of gone out the window. We can have conversations after it's all said and done about if the Kings made a mistake and if Monty McNair and Mike Brown made the mistake of running this team back, if they wasted a year, if this roster is correctly constructed. Like we can talk about all that later. That's for another time. Right now, this is what you have. These are the cards you've been dealt. You listened all offseason to people writing about how lucky you were last season, which I still think is absolutely asinine that now these people are coming back out of the woodwork and going, see, the Kings aren't lucky this year. They're not able to overcome the injuries. Why is last year lucky and this year is just expected? To lose your 2 main shooting guards in essentially a week span to basically season-ending injuries back-to-back, both of them completely circumstantial. Herter getting whacked when going in for a layup in transition. Malik Monk getting ran over by Luka Doncic, which I want to clarify again. You can be pissed off at Luka for injuring Monk. It wasn't a dirty play. Luka, we know he flops and flails and things like that. He wasn't targeting the knee of Malik or anything like that. It's incidental contact, so we don't have to go that far, though I'm sure you want to lash out with your anger at somebody. Like, the Kings are dealing with catastrophic injury issues right now. And knock on wood, I'm knocking on a couch because I don't have wood near me, that it doesn't also reach De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis, right? That is disaster of all disaster. And hopefully the Kings can continue to avoid that. Their season is not over. So we got to ride it out with them. We'll see. I mean, they're more than likely, almost guaranteed, in my opinion, to be a play-in team at this point, right? With how difficult their schedule is, now without Malik Monk, no idea on when Lyles and Vezenkov are going to return. De'Aaron playing banged up again. Like, they are going to be a play-in team. Hopefully they can secure at worst an 8th seed like they're in right now so that they have a chance to win one game and just get in. So they don't have to, because if they fall to 9 or 10, they have to win 2 games to get in. So hopefully they can hold on to the spot that they're in. Just tread water for right now. Get to that one-game playoff, whether you're on the road or at home, whether you're playing the Suns or the Mavs or the Lakers or the Warriors or the Rockets or whoever the hell it is. Put yourself in a position to win one game to get yourself into a best-of-7 series, and then do your best to compete with the Nuggets or Timberwolves or Thunder or whatever team you get paired up against in the opening round, even though you're shorthanded without Monk and Herter at that point. Like, just do your best. Expectations are kind of out the window. We can be disappointed. We can be frustrated that this season is not ending the way that we were hoping it to, that we're likely not getting the playoff progress and the growth in the postseason from being eliminated in the first round to making it out of the first round this year. It's not impossible. It's highly unlikely. But we just got to ride it out with them. It sucks to say, and I know Kings fans aren't necessarily going to tap out. They're not necessarily going to give up. The Kings certainly aren't going to give up. They're going to keep fighting. And that's exactly what Malik Monk would expect. And Malik's still going to be around the team. Kevin Herter's still going to be around the team. They're going to be pushing this team as much as they possibly can from their seats on the bench. But boy, what a blow Malik is to the Kings. The Kings have just been peppered by injuries here over the final month or so of the season. And what a crappy way to end what has been a very solid and impressive and encouraging month of March for the Kings, right? So much good from this month of March, and they end it with 2 bad losses to the Dallas Mavericks in gotta-have-them games. And now this loss of Malik Monk after the loss of Kevin Herter around a week ago. It's tough, man. But it's the NBA. And like I said a lot after last night's game, nobody cares about your excuses, right? The context is important. The Kings have legitimate reasons for struggling in the postseason, assuming they get there, right? They have a legit reason now with the amount of players that they're missing, but nobody feels sorry for you. Got to go out there and battle and figure it out. I'm not necessarily excited to see how the roster fares without Malik and without Kevin and all the injuries that they're dealing with. I'm not excited to see this team try to overcome it, but I'm interested. I'm intrigued. And I'm very interested in what Malik Monk's future is now. Talked about it a lot this season. The fear that I had as the offseason got closer and closer about the potential of losing Malik Monk. There's a very real chance that we have seen Malik Monk play his last game as a Sacramento King. I'll talk about that a little bit more here in just a second before we wrap up. Before we get to that, though, today's episode of the Locked On Kings podcast is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything that you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or you get your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not burning cash. With all the parts you need at the prices that you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to the U.S. customers. Locked On Kings is also brought to you by Amazon Fire TV, which is your destination for sports. From live games to highlights and in-depth analysis, Fire TV offers amazing viewing experiences with smart TVs, as well as the Fire TV stick that you can plug into your existing TV that provides access to millions and millions of movies and TV shows, as well as free and live TV. Whether it's opening weekend for baseball, the college tournament going on, NBA action, you're going to want to have a Fire TV. And Fire TV recently created Fire TV channels to deliver a constant supply of the latest videos from your favorite sports brands, all for free, and that includes all of us here at the Locked On Podcast Network and most of the big pro leagues and college conferences as well. Fire TV channels let you dive into all the game analysis, highlights, and more to keep up to date on all the latest in the world of sports, March Madness, the NBA, the MLB, and lots more, not to mention great news, entertainment, gaming, travel, cooking videos as well. Check out the Fire TV channels on Fire TV and Alexa devices. If you haven't checked out Fire TV channels, give it a look. Trust me on this. To learn more, visit amazon.com/lockedonfiretv. Truthfully, what makes me even more sick to my stomach than reading the Malik news and realizing what that means for the immediate future for the Sacramento Kings, the idea that number 0 has played his last game in a Kings uniform, I mean, that is what has me more doom and gloom at this point in time. I'm hoping, Frankie Cardicelli put this perspective out on social media, and I'm trying to manifest it. I'm hoping that Malik has this feeling of unfinished business here in Sacramento, and that he's going to want to return to continue what the Kings started. He's going to want to pick up on this season. He's going to hopefully, he's going to win the NBA Sixth Man of the Year award, so hopefully want to build on that as a member of the Sacramento Kings going forward. Want to continue to play for Mike Brown, wanting to continue to play with Malik Monk, with De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis, right? There's so many reasons that we've laid out time and time and time again for why Malik Monk, in theory, would want to remain here in Sacramento. But like we've talked about too, Malik's journey through the NBA, his career to this point, has not always been easy, right? He's had to grind and work and fight to get to the position that he's in right now. A position to where he, even with this injury, is primed to cash in on the best contract that he's ever had in the NBA. Now, I have no idea how significant of an impact this injury is going to have on Malik Monk's future. If it were like a Achilles or ACL or something disastrous like that, and thank God it's not, that's where you're looking at, okay, teams are probably not going to be willing to spend a decent chunk of change to get Malik. I don't think this knee injury, unless it has lingering issues, which this is an injury that's been suffered by top stars before, guys like Kevin Durant have dealt with this exact injury before and come back fine. So there's no reason to believe that this is going to be something that hampers Malik beyond this 4 to 6 week period. So I don't think this is going to have anything more than very, very, very minor effects on Malik's value around the league. I still am looking at mainly the Orlando Magic, maybe the San Antonio Spurs as well, as two teams that are probably looking at Malik and going, we could potentially throw a bag at him and price Sacramento out or snatch him away from Sacramento with with more money than the Kings are able to offer. I don't think his injury is going to have any impact on that. But Malik is going to do and should do what's best for Malik. And if what's best for Malik is taking that money and going elsewhere, it's hard to knock him for it. It terrifies me from the Kings' perspective because, like we're about to see, I think, over the remainder of this season and into the postseason, there is no replacing Malik, or it's very difficult to replace Malik. I don't think there's anybody on this roster outside damn near 48 minutes of De'Aaron Fox that can replicate what Malik is doing and has been doing all season long. And I don't think there's anybody in free agency the Kings can realistically go out and get, and certainly afford to go out and get, that can replace Malik's production. So, again, manifest what Frankie said, unfinished business here in Sacramento. He's going to want to come back for that reason amongst the others that I've listed out. I hope that's true. But I'm going to be honest with you, there is a very, very good chance that we just watched Malik's last game as a Sacramento King. I hope that's not true, and trust me, when we get into the offseason and win, or if, but hopefully when, the news breaks that the Kings have re-signed Malik, he's returning to Sacramento, there's going to be a celebration on this podcast. I 100% guarantee it. I promise it. we're going to celebrate it because that's going to be a significant move. Now, the Kings, I think we know at this point, can't do the same thing this offseason that they did last offseason, which is just run everything back. Bringing Malik Monk back absolutely is priority number one. But everything after that is replacing and moving and figuring out the rest of the roster. It's in Monty's best interest, of course, to bring Malik Monk back. But in the end, it's his decision. And he's going to make the decision that's right for him. Again, I just hope, I really, really hope that wasn't the last game of Malik here in Sacramento. We'll wrap up with this. Just to reiterate, so I make it perfectly clear. King season's not done. It's not over. It might feel like it is. Their odds of improving upon last season, hell, their odds of making it actually into the playoffs may have gotten significantly worse with this Monk news. But it's not 0%. It's not done yet. And the Kings, it's still in their best interest not just to make the playoffs for this season, to obviously just try and win and be competitive. It's in their best interest to try and finish as best as they possibly can so that their draft pick, the protections don't come into place, that it goes to Atlanta, and that frees up all their other draft capital for Monty to be able to potentially use it this offseason to make some moves and make some trades. So the Kings there's no tanking even remotely considered here in Sacramento. Not that anybody should believe that. And it's very much in the best interest of the Kings competitively now to try and salvage their season to win and go as far as they can. But it also has some pretty significant effects on their assets this offseason for them to continue to try and win and solidify a playoff spot. It's very possible still. I still think it's likely. I think it's likely that the Sacramento Kings will actually make it to... that's, if I'm being honest with you, that's me trying to project my own optimism. Maybe it's not likely anymore that the Kings will make it out of the play-in and into the playoffs itself. I still think the Kings can do it. I still think there's a big part of me that thinks the Kings will do it. I believe that much in Fox and Sabonis, and I mean, there's no safety net now. There's no, all expectations, even though other guys need to step up, like I mentioned, HB, Keon, Kessler, the bench, whatever, everybody needs to step up for sure. But Fox and Sabonis, never has it been more true that the Kings are going to go as far as you two take them. So Kings fans, buckle up and get ready for the ride. And if you have to separate your emotion from it, I understand that completely. We'll see what they can do, and it starts tomorrow against the Utah Jazz. I'll be hosting a normal edition of the Locked On Kings podcast after that game from the Golden One Center. Again, De'Aaron Fox is listed as questionable to play at this point in time, and Sasha Vezenkov is once again out. So, and no news on Trey Lyles at this point in time as well. So, the Jazz are not a pushover team. The Kings have had success against them so far this season. Malik Monk has also had some really big moments against Utah, and the Kings will be without him now. So we'll see how it goes. Win or lose, I'll have a Locked On Kings podcast for you, so I hope you will join me for that. Until then, have yourselves a very happy Easter. I know this is kind of a downer going into Easter, but do as best as you can to put your Kings feelings and thoughts aside for a little bit and enjoy your Easter holiday, and we'll get together, hopefully ending Easter with a Kings victory. Until then, my name is Matt George. You've been listening to the Locked On Kings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.